This is a car mirror cap that's been wrapped in Vivid's Ultra Gloss China Blue vinyl wrap, as well as their glossy forged carbon fiber vinyl as well. I'll show you how I did this unique two-tone look on this mirror cap in the video, so let's get started. So the first step in any vinyl wrap project is to ensure you have good clean and prep. As you can see here, I have taped over the blinker portion of the mirror housing with some blue painter's masking tape, and this protects not only the cap but also reduces how hard the vinyl might stick to that particular area. Other than that, for right now, I'm just going to go ahead and use some isopropyl rubbing alcohol and a clean microfiber cloth. Get this cleaned up really well to remove any dirt, debris, oil, dust, bugs, whatever on there that would, one, prevent the vinyl from sticking properly, but also two, make sure that there's no bumps or anything that, or debris particles and bumps that would show through the vinyl once it's been applied. So basically I want to just clean not only just the main surfaces, but make sure I get into these crevices and areas here as well, because I'll be tucking and cutting into the crevice type areas as well. And I'm just using one of my micro squeegees, or you can use a squeegee in your microfiber cloth and kind of just get in there as best as you can. Some areas are going to be really hard to get into, but just do the best that you can. Make sure that you got everything cleaned out really well. All right, so I've got one decent clean so far. I'm just gonna do one more just for good measure. And this alcohol is actually a mixed dilution. It was 99% pure. I mixed it to about a 70% to 30% of alcohol to water ratio, maybe closer to 80 to 30. Okay, so now that the mirror has been sufficiently cleaned, what I'm going to do, since we are doing a two-tone piece, I'm going to put a product called knifeless tape here. It's by 3M knifeless tape. This is the finish line series of it. And what we'll do is I'm going to put it on this hard body line here. It's going to be our natural two-piece section here. And because this will be the forged carbon fiber, I'm going to go up. Here's the body line. I'm going to go just a little bit above it so that when I put the cap piece on there, it'll come down just a little bit over it and you have a small about an eighth, maybe slightly smaller than 1/8 of an inch overlap between the two. So I'm just going to take my knifeless tape. I'm going to start with a few inches past the edge here. Always have several inches past where it's going to end, and you'll see the reason why in here a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put this like this and tack it on there pretty good. And this stuff is pretty conformable. And I'm going to follow that body line. I'm putting this edge, this far edge, of the green part of the knifeless tape onto the top edge of the body line here. You can see the yellow piece in here. That's the actual cutting filament of the knifeless tape. So I'm going to use the green edge along the top of this body line here like this. And I'm just curving it around and then applying that tape down onto the body line as I go. Pull out just a little bit more here. Follow that. And I'm steering with this hand over here while I'm applying over here. So I'm just going to follow this body line again, putting this edge of the green tape onto the top edge of the body line here. Continuing this process all the way through. Come around here. Almost there. Just making sure I got a nice clean line. Try not to make it wavy or anything like that. Okay. And now once I passed it on the back end too, I'm also going to give myself several inches past the edge of where the vinyl would end. I'm just going to make sure that's all tacked in. I'm going to go over it again with my finger, just really good, press that on there to make sure that it's on nice and tight. Okay, now, so I'm lock my camera focus here. Now with that done, we can apply our carbon fiber vinyl, and I'm building up from here up, and then this way the seam will be pointed down when I put that piece on there. I have a piece of Vivid's forged carbon fiber, glossy carbon fiber vinyl wrap. It's a little dark in here, so it's hard to see the patterning here. Anyway, so it's big enough to cover this whole piece here. Angle this just a little bit better so you can see that. And then I'm going to start here by tacking this down, and then I'm going to work my way around that way. So I'm going to go ahead and just going to peel off this backing paper here. I'm going to make sure I get this placed so I have full coverage, and I know I'll make it. So I'm just going to go ahead and tack that there. This is the big flat area. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to anchor this down. You can see I've anchored that down right there. And then from here, I'm just going to kind of just work my way towards the back here. All right, and then I'm actually, at this point, I'm hitting the front corner point of the blinker portion of the housing. And then so what I'm gonna do is, I know it's kind of an angled, uh, an angle shape with a point at the bottom. So here's my point. I know I have tape on there, and I'm gonna go like this and kind of form that corner tip here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a relief cut right here. And this is partly why you would want to cover this with tape to help protect that. And so here's my corner point, and here's the edge of where the housing and the mirror cap meet. I'm going to go and make a cut about 1/8 of the way in, and I'm going to cut my way out like this. Actually, I can cut this away here as well. All right. Now, what this allows is there's less material here that would grab this area here as we go around. So I'm going to go and start to work my way around. And you notice here's my top section, right? I've got this all laid down. Let me lay this down just a little better, right? And so here's my top section. I'm giving it a little bit of a tug, not hard. And then I'm just laying that top and then working down like this, working down like this, working down like this. And I'm contouring with the shape of the mirror housing cap. You can see that I've got the vinyl tucked up pretty good against this here. Now, it's going to start binding at some point as you're trying to turn the vinyl around the mirror housing cap. So I'm going to make another relief cut. So I know that right around here is where, excuse me, where the blinker housing is. And so I'm going to go in here, and I have tape on there, so I'm okay with this. I'm going to cut, nothing hard, just enough to cut this away. And this kind of frees up material that would grab otherwise. And I'm going to continue this process. I'll move this over just a bit. Hopefully you can see this better. That might be too much, but so I'm working my way around and down. Okay, and then at some point it's kind of binding up a little bit here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another relief cut just to keep things going. And I'm using this to protect so I don't cut too far in. And I'm just going to cut away just like that. Tuck my knife back away. And you can see I'm just applying this here, applying it here until basically I reach the end. If it does bind up on you, feel free to make as many relief cuts. You can see these little wrinkles here. Those are little tension points that are forming because it's trying to put a flat surface over a curve, over a bend. Okay? So for all intents and purposes, we have this wrapped. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I have everything sealed down properly and nicely. There is a little bit of an underside here, so I'm going to make sure that's tucked in. I'm using the hard edge of my squeegee to help me tuck this area down here. And down here, where the corner is, I'm actually going to find that corner point. And I'm going to cut a little bit closer and away. I'm kind of cutting away so that I have extra material to go underneath if I need to. From that corner, to make sure everything is tucked. All right. Now I'm going to take my heat gun, and I'm going to use that to start relaxing some things. Some tension points, relaxing the vinyl. You'll see it fall over the top side here. Just using my heat gun, you'll kind of see the vinyl just relax and basically fall down into place. It kind of gets soft and gummy. So we started with this top side here. And you kind of see it's forming the line around. Put my heat gun down for now. I'm going to make sure that is sealed down without any bubbles on top of our knifeless tape. All right. That way your knifeless tape will cut nice and smoothly without any hiccups in there. You want to make sure there's no gaps, because if there's a gap in there, your knifeless tape might jump on you a little bit and create a not so nice line. I'm going to heat this up a little bit more again, right around here and around this curve here, just to make sure everything's relaxed and down on top of the knifeless tape without any tension. You don't want any tension in this area here, because that's where we'll pull up underneath your overlap with your blue vinyl. All right. So just looking this over here, everything looks great so far. All right, that top side is nice and smooth and down. So at this point, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to peel off the plastic protective cap here. You'll see how glossy and shiny this material is. Actually, it looks like it's almost wet with how glossy it is. It's really beautiful. All right, and I have some tension points here, as you see. And these relief cuts here, I'm just going to kind of continue these on and kind of follow close to here. Again, I have this taped off, so I'm okay with cutting on it. That's what the tape there is there for, to protect it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this up a little bit right here, get that off of there so that there's a little bit of relief or off from any tension that's there. Then I'm going to take my heat on low. I'm going to warm this up and I'm going to relax all that. I'm going to use my hard edge. And I'm going to work the vinyl down between my hard edge and my soft edge. I'm just going to work that down towards here. And what I'm doing is I'm heating to basically shrink the vinyl just a little bit because wrinkles are just, in one sense, excessive material in a certain area. So more material than surface area. And then also heating it will help relax the vinyl as well so that it's more conformable as you work it. So I'm just heating this up, slightly shrinking the vinyl. All vinyl does shrink with heat, by the way, or all vinyl wrap, I should say. Making sure I have everything down nicely. I was using my main squeegee between the hard edge and soft edge. If I have a tiny little bubble there, I might actually lift that up to get that bubble out since it's so close to the edge. Even though it's tucked in, I'll have to redo this just a little bit. Okay, work that out. Now I'm just using my micro squeegee to work things down and using my micro squeegee to really tuck the vinyl into the gap that is between this cap housing and the signal housing. And I like to do this because the sharper you define that line with a micro squeegee or similar tool, the better your cut will be. Okay, so as you see, there's no tension there. I heated any excessive material and excessive tension out of that area, so I know that there's completely relaxed and I don't have any worry about that failing later on. So next, I'm going to start by, actually, before I do that, I know there's some seams here on the edge, right here, and the mirror cap meets that. I'm just going to tuck that in nice and tight. I know I have one on this front corner here as well, and then right underneath. I'll just make sure everything is tucked before I start cutting. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull my knifeless tape, and basically what you want to do is you want to separate this yellow filament off of the green carrier tape. So typically you'll have it on something here and you'll fold it over onto a surface and then you can pull and pop it and you'll see how it pulls the yellow tape, separates it from the yellow filament is separated from the green carrier tape. Now, when you reach the vinyl, I like to pinch the two together. That way it doesn't flop on you, and then continue and just pull through and follow the course of your tape. Okay, boom. That's the carrier filament tape. Now remember, there's green carrier tape that's still left right here. And there's going to be two pieces now because you split this tape in half. So if you take off the top part of the vinyl, that's going to be the excess. Okay, we'll cut off some of this here. You'll see the carrier tape here. So you're going to have two pieces. One that's out of the vinyl, easy peasy. One that's just under the edge of the vinyl. So when you do this, pull it so that it's really shallow and not out and against, because you don't want to pull the vinyl away. You just want to pull that tape out without pulling the vinyl away from the surface area you intend to lay the vinyl onto. So just carefully pull that out and make sure you get all of it. If it breaks, make sure you get that stuff out of there. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and seal this down. Just like that. Okay. I like to add just a little bit of heat to make sure everything is sealed down nicely. All right, so now that you've done your knifeless tape cutting, it's time to actually cut with your knife itself. And then, so this is again where if you did a good tuck and cut, everything should be ready to go for you to cut. Now there are a bunch of seams in here, so I'm just gonna be basically floating the tip of my blade into the seam crevices of the areas here. So there's a seam where the base meets the cap. And I'm just putting the tip of my knife in that gap area, and that's just guiding my knife. And I'm just following that line like so, coming around. And then here, I've got this seam here where I was tucking everything earlier, as you saw before in the video. And now I'm just going to take the tip of my knife, get that in that little tiny little gap there, and I'm just cutting right inside that gap. That gap is what's guiding the direction of my knife. I'm not putting very much pressure at all as I cut because the blade is super sharp. It is a black ultra sharp carbon blade. Even though this is a thicker vinyl, it will cut right through it if it's a fresh blade. I'm going to cut away some of the excess here and then carefully peel, because you might not have cut everything. You don't want to rip the vinyl off. So carefully peel this away. Okay, and I already cut underneath, so I'm going to grab that as well. Put my blade away. All right. Then where I just cut, just like I sealed here, I want to use my micro squeegee, make sure everything is sealed down nice and well, nice and tightly. Like so. All right. Last seam that we got to cut is right here. So I'm just making sure that's going to be nice and defined. Okay. With that ready to go, I'm going to go and cut this again, just floating the blade of the tip of my knife right into that gap, following it down slowly and carefully so your blade doesn't jump. Take off the excess and then make sure you tuck and seal everything down. All right, so now our carbon fiber portion is complete. We gave it a little heat to make sure everything is sealed down nicely. All right, nothing's moving. If there was tension, heat will tend to make the vinyl jump, and then you'll know that's where the tension is. So now we gotta basically make this next piece up here, and we're gonna use our knifeless tape again to help us out so we don't have to cut directly onto the mirror. If you're comfortable cutting directly on the surfaces, that's totally fine. It's your choice, but knifeless tape, for those that aren't quite as comfortable, um, is always a good alternative to be able to cut on the surface of the vehicle or whatever you're wrapping without actually risking cutting whatever it is surface that you are wrapping, cutting through the vinyl. Okay, so same process. Now this edge of the tape is going to follow the top edge of the vinyl now. That way the carrier tape is just past it and you'll have a slight overlap. The overlap is going to be basically the width of the edge of the tape to the yellow filament. So I'm going to follow this around like so. And I'm steering with this hand as I'm applying with this one right here. Continuing on, I am adding just a little tension to kind of keep the filament nice and straight so it's not very wavy. I'm going to come around again here, just so I can see that better. And continue the same process, following this around, just like so. Boom, okay. Make sure that's sealed down nicely, nice and tight so it doesn't come off on us later when we're trying to apply our vinyl. I have several inches past the edges of the mirror cap, and I'm going to go and cut that off here. I'm just going to tack this loose end onto the mirror here so it doesn't get grabbed into the vinyl. All right, so that's ready to go. Next, I have another piece here of the vinyl that we're going to color it. Just double check to make sure that it does cover this face here and all the way over. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, since I've confirmed that is big enough, what I'm going to do next is go ahead and peel off this backing liner. It's not paper anymore, it's plastic in this one. I'm going to tack, just make sure this is right here. Okay, so I'm going to tack right there to anchor my vinyl down onto the surface of the mirror cap. Use my squeegee, get that tacked on there real good. pull this up here. All right, just making sure I got it anchored down really nicely because I'm going to give this a little bit of a heat and a pull and a stretch actually. Basically, we're going to stretch it over the top here. Okay, so pulled it back. I've got it anchored. I don't know, maybe an inch or and a half out from the base right here. Get my heat gun, and I'm gonna warm up the entire chunk of vinyl, not just this area here. I want everything. Because the reason being is you want this vinyl to be evenly heated so that when you pull and stretch it, it does stretch evenly all the way through it. Okay, see the vinyl is getting kind of gummy and liquidy looking. So that should be good enough. That's about ready there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get set up here and I'm going to pull. You can see I'm pulling kind of tight. I'm applying right over the top, just like that. Now I have these wrinkles here and that's totally fine. I'm totally okay with that because what I can do is I can now just lift this up and the wrinkles going this way. If I pull this way, it goes away. All right. A little bit of bagginess here. That's going to be okay. And I have some wrinkles up here. Backside here is totally fine and flat. And then here, I can lift this up again. And then this is where we're going to take advantage of the vinyl's memory, which is its propensity to shrink back down to its original shape. Now remember, we stretched this, so now the vinyl has become bigger. As I shrink it, it's going to shrink back down. If I do it on top of the surface, it's going to effectively shrink wrap itself to a degree onto the surface of this mirror cap. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure that the easy flat parts here are locked down and anchored down. So basically we're kind of in the middle here because I want to keep this loose because I got some stuff to do here. Now that I've done that, I'll start up top here. Hopefully you can see these a little better. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this up a little bit, just past those wrinkles if I can. Get a little bit of heat. And I'm going to heat this. I'm going to see the vinyl kind of shrink. And as that shrinks, I just drop it into place. So what I've done is all that tension is now gone. And there's no tension on the edges of the vinyl. Okay? So that's totally relaxed vinyl that I just laid down on top of this thing. So since I had a lot of tension this way, I'm going to take this heat here, bring it up. I'm going to heat this area here. It's totally relaxed now. And I can even just drop it and just, now that it's relaxed, I got a little bubble there. Let me get rid of that. Now that it's relaxed, I can just basically squeegee it down or rub it down with my finger, so to speak, right on top of my knifeless tape there. Okay, so I'm going to kind of do the same process along this line here. Grab my heat gun. Maybe I'm going to switch sides here so it's easier for me to do it and you can still see. I'm going to take my heat, lift this up just a little bit, past the knifeless tape. I'm going to heat it, and hopefully you're seeing that this vinyl is relaxing right on top of and over and past our knifeless tape line. And that's exactly what you want. You don't want any tension right on that knifeless tape line where two vinyls will meet, because that risks pull up. Now here we got a little bit of looseness and bagginess, and this is where heat will shrink the vinyl just a little bit, get rid of some of that. Again, just relaxing this on here, just like that. Relaxing this on here just like that. And then locking it down, heating it to seal it, get it nice and shrunk and conform to the surface. Get rid of any excess vinyl that may be causing wrinkles and tension, heating out that tension as well. So as you can see, everything now has been relaxed and sealed down right over the area we need. And I'm just going to go back over here and make sure all this back area here is relaxed as well. Even the bottom, even though I didn't add any tension there. Just kind of make sure everything is ready to go before we start cutting and pulling knifeless tape. All right, so just like before, I'm going to take my micro squeegee and I'm going to start setting up the areas that I'm going to be cutting, starting on the back side here because that's an easy seam to follow. I'm going to just use my micro squeegee to tuck the vinyl into this seam a little bit, defining the cut line, if you will, which is the gap between where the housing cap and the housing mount meet. I'm going to do the same thing for underneath here, just like so. Right over our knifeless tape as well. Okay. Then I know we have some right here as well. Just a little bit there, just past our knifeless tape. Okay, everything looks good so far. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dig out this knifeless tape here. I'm going to cut away some of this excess because it's a lot right now. Okay, now here's my knifeless tape. Now again, I want to separate the yellow filament from the green carrier tape, so I'm just going to hold it here, pinch it, and then give it a quick tug, and you can see the yellow filament has separated from the carrier tape. I'm going to get right to the vinyl, and then I'm going to kind of pinch that there so that this vinyl is held in place. Give it a good tug past it, going towards the direction of my knifeless tape. Follow, 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 all the way down. All right, so this is going to be our excess piece here. I'm going to carefully peel this away, and look, it's already grabbing one half of the carrier tape of the knifeless tape. Take that there. We still have the piece that's underneath of our vinyl right now. And again, I'm trying to keep it shallow without pulling and lifting the vinyl up, because that actually micro stretches that area there if you do that. And it could result in some small finger wrinkles. So I'm just carefully pulling this vinyl out like so. With that pulled, I'm going to go ahead and seal it. And if you look close, you can see the overlap here, kind of an embossed effect of where the carbon fiber vinyl is underneath of this blue vinyl here. Okay, so the last things now are to basically just finish trimming up everything else. So I'm going to cut in the seam areas that I tucked in nicely so that I can trim this out. So I'll start here with the bottom, get that cut away. And then I'm going to follow this top side here. So again, just the tip of my knife is right into the gap where the housing and the mount of the mirror come together. And because I defined that cut line really well, I'm just lightly guiding my knife, very little pressure pushing down. Don't really need it because this knife is super sharp. Carefully peel this away, like so. All right, now because this does have that plastic protective cap, just like the carbon fiber vinyl did, I gotta get that off, which will then reveal the glossiness, the really beautiful glossiness of this vinyl series here. So I just gotta kind of work at it here a little bit. Hopefully get it started. You can kind of see it's peeling up a little bit here. Just gotta get my lack of fingernails to dig that up here. All right, get a pinch hold of it. Boom, okay. And then you'll see, again, if I peel this off, how glossy and shiny this material is. It almost looks wet, actually, which is pretty awesome. Boom. All right, so now, just like with the carbon fiber one, I'm going to take a little bit of heat. And I'll make sure everything is sealed down nicely. Okay. Just going over everything with heat to see if I missed any bubbles or if there's areas that are going to pop up, and I can address these right away. Also heat this area here to help post-heat. It is a heat activated vinyl, so this kind of is in a sense post-heating it to a degree as well. All right, peel this off here. And for all intents and purposes, we have now completed, quick and easy, a two-toned mirror cap housing using Vivid Ultra Gloss China Blue, as well as their Ultra Gloss, I'm not sure if it's called Ultra Gloss, but really glossy forged carbon fiber vinyl wrap as well.